In this video, I'm going to teach you how to add a finish key. Now, we're going to do this a little bit differently than we've done in other exercises, and that's because I want to teach you a method of labeling an elevation that has a lot of finishes, but that you don't want to detract from kind of the overall visual with a bunch of notations. And so I have a space over here that I'm going to use to create this little um, kind of finish key, and I'm going to key it back to this elevation here. Now, I'm going to teach you a technique that's called color jumping, and that's where we start to use elements within our image to guide the design of the text and annotations within our presentation. So to begin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the swatches that are on this exterior here, and I'm going to bring them over on a key, and then I'm going to use a numbering system to show you how, or show your viewer which finish correlates to kind of which swatch. So just to begin, I'm going to start with the roof. Now, I'm going to start by creating a text box that has a number in it. But because the text is going to be over something that's a different color, I am also going to create a transparent circle, or a circle that has some opacity to it, so that we have a little bit of more more elegance and more clarity to our presentation. So let me go ahead and I'm going to start by creating a new layer. And I'm going to create the name of this layer as an annotation bubble. And because we're going to be duplicating that a few times, I'm going to go to my rectangular marquee and use this elliptical marquee here. Now, I am going to select and call out finishes that are the closest to the right edge as possible, because that's where the notes are going to be. And so I really just kind of want them to go away and just be situated to one side so that they're not distracting. And so the rightmost expression of this material is right here. And so I'm clicking and dragging, and I'm going to make a circle here. And then I'm going to fill it. Now, this is color jumping. Look, let me show you. I'm going to grab a color, and instead of doing white, I'm going to grab like this cream color. You could even grab this one, something very, very soft, so that it's pulled from the image, right? We have to fill it with some color. We might as well fill it with one that we've already used and we know works with this. So we're going to hit OK. Opacity, I'll go ahead and put this at like a 50%. Let's see how that looks so far. We'll hit OK. All right, so see, you can see it's really nice, and it looks kind of just soft right there. It's not going to distract. If I wanted to bring it down just a little bit brighter, I certainly could. But what I'm going to do now is create a text box here. And I'm going to put the number 1. And you can see it's coming in as this. And I don't want the text to be gold. I want it to be this color. And we can go just a little bit larger. And we want to center it. And I'm going to, I can move it. Now, this box, or this annotation bubble is a little bit large now that I'm seeing this 12-point font. So I can go ahead and I can change the size of that annotation bubble just to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to move it up and over. Perfect. Okay. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, where did that text go? Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to make sure in my mind that I have the 1 and then the associated annotation bubble right underneath. And so what I'll do is I'm going to duplicate those 2. And I'm going to move them. up here. And now I'm going to grab that asphalt shingle here. This is the swatch that I had open already. And I'm bringing it in and pasting it. Now, I want this to come in. I'm going to call this roof swatch. I'm going to bring it underneath that second element there. And then I'm going to pull that, I'm going to make the size of this swatch a little bit smaller. And I don't want to transform it and stretch it smaller, because I actually want my client to be able to see the detail. So I'm going to just cut some of the swatch, and notice I'm trying to cut it so that I get the same edge. Okay, now I'm going to zoom out and take a look and see how it looks. Okay, so if I grab all of these, if I grab all of these, they should be at the top. So I've got my text, I can rename this. And, we're going to have a few of these. So it's really important that we make sure that we label. So we've got the swatch label. Notice the one here and the one here is the same, and they're the same size. So I'm going to grab all of those elements and I'm going to move it up here. And then I'm going to create one more text box here. Actually, you know what I can do is just duplicate this layer. That'll be even easier. So it'll be one swatch information. And I'm going to move that one over. Extend the size of my text box. Change the justification. And now I'm going to say, okay, so now I have some information about this material that might be helpful for my viewer to know. I could also, if I wanted to really give away a lot of information, I wouldn't show this to my client, but I might show it to somebody else or keep it for my records. I might, in very small text down here, put the specification information, manufacturer and product number, just so that there's some correlation between these two. And so now what I can do is move this over just a little bit. And I can create a key. So we'll present them, 1, 2, brick material might be 3. We can bring in some paint colors as well. And as we tile these down, we can create some information about this that gives us a lot of information about what we see here, gives us a quick study about all the different materials that are shown, but on the actual image itself, it's very, very subtle. And so you're not kind of distracting your viewer with a bunch of notes. The only other thing that we need to add is we can just duplicate this and we can add a title and scale. Okay, and of course we don't need a north arrow because there's no north arrows in elevations, but we can go ahead and move that. Lower left-hand corner, I'm going to increase the size just a little bit. And I'm using very traditional serif text here because this is a very traditional architectural typology. So we'll change this to and this is not to scale. It's not in perspective, and it's the reason why it's not to scale is we can't measure because we've distorted the page size so many times it would be impossible for us to know exactly what size it actually is. We could create a graphic scale, but for right now we're going to just leave it as is. So Georgian residence, north elevation, not to scale, and then all I'm going to do is create a series of swatches here that represent the finishes here, and then I'm going to copy it over there. So now that I have a couple of these labels and swatches created over here, I'd like to teach you a little trick or a helpful tip in order to keep the organization of all of these. Now, it can be very, very cumbersome to deal with all of these layers. And so once you have one that you've created correctly, and I've created several, what I want you to notice here is I want you to look at my labels on my layers. So you can see for each one of these swatches, there's 5 components. The first is the text box, which is the swatch information. And you can see I've labeled this 4, which is this, the swatch information for number 4. This one is the swatch label on the elevation. So this 4, this text box is this one because it's on the elevation. This 4 swatch label is this. Number 4 annotation bubble on the margin is the little very light color bubble that's right here. And there's also this one, which is the annotation bubble on the elevation. It's over here. And then the last one is the travertine swatch. See, I can turn it on and off and you can see. So now as I'm going to create my paint swatches here, there's 2 more I had to do, which are the paint colors, the one here and the one here. And I'm going to just show you how to do one of them now. The first thing I'm going to do is grab the layers that I've already selected, and I'm holding down my shift button and I'm grabbing them all. Then I'm going to right click and duplicate and hit OK. Now you can see everything has a copy at the end. So now what I'm going to do is double click here, and I'm going to call this 5. And I'm going to get rid of the copy. I'm going to change this to 5. And again, delete copy. Right now, I'm not changing what you see. I'm just changing what the label says. And this, again, we do this because it'll be a lot easier to make changes or adjustments for the designer, but also if, for example, someone steps in to help you with your project, you want to make sure that they want to help you because your labels and things are organized that make it easy for them. Okay, so we're going to call this 5, and then this is actually not going to be travertine. This is going to be called black paint. Okay, so all we've done is change the text boxes now. So now what I'm going to do is grab all the things that start with 5, all the layers that start with 5, and I'm going to move them now. See, I've got my move buttons already selected, and now I'm going to move them down. And I haven't set up any grids or guides, but I'm trying to eyeball, which I would end up setting up some guides to get this really precise, but I'm trying to make sure that the distance is the same here all the way across. Okay, so now you can see my 4 came down. Everything that was a copy of this above is now ready for me to work with. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start changing these. So swatch label number 5, I'm going to change that to a 5. Annotation bubble on margin, that's okay. We don't need to change anything there. It still looks good. Annotation bubble on the elevation, we can go ahead and move that. And the black paint swatch, we can move that as well. Let's go ahead and find the label for the elevation here. I'm going to double click this and change that to a 5. So now the swatch label and the annotation bubble on the elevation, I'm holding down my control button to get just these two. So now we're ready to move that over to our first paint color. Now our first paint color, again, we want to as far right as possible. So we'll go ahead and put that there, the 5, and I'm going to try to get it centered on that shutter. Okay, so now we've got that. We're going to go ahead to this, which is the swatch information. We'll double click on it and we'll say black paint, color TBD. We don't want to give away our paint colors right now. Okay, now we have to create the swatch. Now I've created this as a guide. Now, as I've brought in these other ones, I've just control copy and paste and brought it in here. And then I have manipulated the size of the swatch to trim. So let me just show you that really quickly. I'm copying and pasting and it's going to come in really big. So for the other ones I've done, I've just set it right next to it. See where the pink line comes up, and I can hit X to get rid of it. And then I move it over like this. And Control X to get rid of it. And then all I have to do is move it up and adjust my layer orders so that the annotation bubble and the text is on top. But that's how I get the swatches to all be the same size. But for this one, because it's paint, it's really easy. All we have to do is we just create a box right here. And we can create a new layer. And this we're going to call 5. And let's go ahead and grab it. There's our black right there. Let's see. I'm gonna have to zoom in a little bit. I think it's picking up the black that's right on my, there we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, and then the opacity is not 100%, 50%. We want it to be 100%. And let's go ahead and fill that in. Whoop, let's see what went wrong. Let's do that one more time. I've got a few, it looks like, on top of that. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, let me, all right. Okay, let's see. Let me pause for a second and see what's going on. Okay, I just created a new layer, and then we'll go ahead and grab from the middle of the door, and we'll hit OK and OK. And then all I have to do is just move that swatch down. And we have to make sure that it's under all my other labels. Okay, perfect. And then we can see it correlates directly to that 5. So the last one that I need to do is just create the last paint swatch for this white right here. And then if I have to shift anything up or over, I certainly can. But by the end of this, you now see that you have a beautiful elevation that's got just a nice mix of materials. Everything's got a nice shadow and glow to it. We do have some entourage brought in, some scale figures, and then this really gorgeous swatch key that allows us to see the finishes that are applied on this elevation a little bit closer up. And then you can see here, it's just a beautiful, crisp, understated elevation that's not intended to be a photograph, but gives a really nice representation of what this will look like to your client.